it's our creative competition. I'm really excited to see what everybody came up with. And we've got Lawrence White as our judge tonight. Some of you may remember Lawrence did a presentation back in 2020 while we were still in person. And he showed us some of his abstract photography, which would fit very well into our topic tonight, which is one of the reasons we asked Lawrence to judge. I have a bio here that I'm going to read for Lawrence. It says, after 4 years military service during the Vietnam War era, Lawrence White received a Master's of Fine Arts in Film from San Francisco Art Institute, 1975. Since that time, Mr. White's photography has been seen worldwide in publications that include Time Magazine, Rolling Stone, Vogue, Vanity Fair, Le Monde, Der Spiegel, George, New York Times, Boston Globe, San Francisco Chronicle, to name only a few. For a period of time in the late 70s and early 80s, Mr. White served as staff photographer at Rolling Stone magazine. That must have been interesting. After that experience, Mr. White continued to work in New York City, capturing images for several agencies worldwide and creating fine art photographic prints for an exclusive list of clients. In 2001, Mr. White won a New York Press Association Award for photographs captured in his downtown New York City neighborhood during and after the terrorist attacks of 9/11. Mr. White is also an accomplished filmmaker who has won awards from the American Film Institute, Chicago Museum of Art, the Seattle Film Festival, among others. Mr. White writes and performs the soundtrack music for many of his films. Mr. White also teaches photography courses and workshops. These have included Adirondack College, Saratoga Arts, Art Center of Capital Region, and School of the Arts, Museum of Dance. He offers one-on-one tutoring online. Mr. White was chief photographer for Saratoga Living magazine for 15 years. He currently writes and photographs for 518 Profiles magazine and is creating a large photography-based abstract and impressionistic murals for a variety of clients. And to mention that in that 518 Profiles, a while back, Lawrence wrote an article on our club. I think Linda shared the link to that article recently. Mm-hmm. So we're ready to start. Take it away.
Very good.
All right. You want to say a few words, Larry, before we get
Yes. I was very impressed by the selection of images that I saw. They're imaginative and fun, as you would want them to be. And they show a willingness to grab onto the technology as well as old school principles to be able to kind of morph into this photo impression abstraction field that I love. I enjoy it very much. For a number, since the early 70s, really, I've been hanging out with painters, and in a way, I was jealous of the fact that they could be as abstract as they were. And because of the technology that I was involved in, there were certain limitations. Now, of course, Man Ray, Dwayne Michaels, Adolfo Maldonado were able to take it to another dimension, but still, the new technology blended with those old school methods creates just a dynamic new art form. And I'm excited to see what you've done with it. So, and thank you for allowing me to quote unquote judge it. I find it very difficult to do that. I prefer to see each piece for what the artist was trying to do. And if I can, to find a way to maybe help them do it better or more refined. Or more explosively. So I'd like to do that as we go through the photographs. I'd like to talk about each one. I didn't do the honorable mentions because it's impossible. I can't choose one above the other. It was hard enough to choose 5. So everybody gets an honorable mention. Congratulations. But I do want to talk to you about each one as we go through. So I look forward to that.
Share my screen, so hold on a second. And you see that?
Yes.
Okay. What I'm going to do is because one of our entries is a GIF, GIF, however you want to say it.
GIF.
And we use Lightroom in our display of images. It doesn't support animated GIFs. So I have that in a separate window here. Hold on. I'll start with that. And this is called Twirl Cat by Joe Catronio.
Yeah. Well, Joe, I appreciate every single one of these images. Any one of them is strong enough to be in this competition. And of course, putting them together like this is really a dazzling display. The thing I don't like about GIFs is the quick cuts. Cut, 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 cut. If there was a way to do it through dissolves, I think this kind of presentation would be much more successful. Of course, the concept of just going to iMovie and laying in each image and then posting it as a video, but this is a still image presentation. So that would be my only comment about GIFs, is that they're too abrupt from image to image. If there was a way to change those transitions, I think it'd be really hip.
I agree with you on that. I tried to make it dissolve and I couldn't figure out how.
Well, that's it. I'm not sure that that's something that can happen in a GIF. I think that may be the entire definition of it. But I just made a short film, 1.5-minute film, using this technology, but instead of quick cuts, using these dissolves, 1 second dissolves. And it's so much more pleasing to the eye to see that. And it transitions, you can lay a soundtrack down with it too. So it even helps the transitions a little bit more. But each image, as I say, is strong enough to be in this competition. I like that one particularly.
Okay.
Good work.
All right. Let's go back to Lightroom. Boom. All right, we're going to start with this image. It's called Blur de Lis by Muir Shapiro.
Great. I love it. I really like this. And it's properly muted. The tones are properly muted. I wanted to find out on this, of course, is a digital presentation. Are you thinking of taking it further and making it into a print?
Oh, I have printed it, yes.
You have?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I have a 20 by 20 canvas of it for one and others.
There you go.
And this
That's
is also
what I was.
this is also motion blur, I should say. It's not actually done on the computer.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
That's done by camera motion blur.
Yes, nicely done. Nicely done. The final effect is just so rich and full. That the reason I asked was because on canvas, it must really be striking. 20 by 20 is a nice size for that as well. Do you do the wrap, the canvas wrap?
Yeah, it's a canvas wrap. Canvas
okay. I've been printing on canvas as well, rolled canvas, and actually displaying them like scrolls, weighted at the bottom and then with a bar at the top and hanging like that. And I've done that a couple of times, but I had a friend that did it all the time. And the reason he did it was that way it could be rolled up and put into a tube and carried it on an airplane to Europe or wherever and very easily, and didn't have to be taken off the stretcher bars. So until it got to its final destination. So I've kind of caught on to that, and I like the way it looks. This piece, though, I think, especially with the wrap, wow, it must be absolutely stunning. Beautiful piece.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Next up is Whirlwind Passion by Muir Shapiro.
This one I like it a lot, but there's just the reason I didn't respond as strongly to this one as I did before is the palette. This is just not my favorite palette. The greens and the reds, but having said that, is this also been printed onto a, hold on just a second. Alexa's trying to tell me something about my cat. Alexa, stop. So is this printed on canvas as well?
Yeah, I have that on a 16 by 24 canvas, yeah.
And when you're lighting these, do you have like a a special lighting setup so that it brings out these tones, or how do you have them displayed?
No, it's done outside. I believe that one. This is quite old, so I actually don't remember everything about it, but it's done by, it's sort of a twirl and twist of a zoom while you're twirling.
Well, no, I don't mean the method. I mean your final print, the final presentation on canvas. How do you have it displayed? Do you have special lighting coming down on these pieces?
I don't think I did. No, I don't.
Okay, yeah, that's one of the things that's so important about our artwork, particularly artwork like this, where you have all of these depths and textures and everything, is not only the light when you capture, but the light when you present it. And that's why I've had opportunities to have displays in places that a lot of people go in and out, but the lighting is just not right for the work. You can't see the subtleties. And with pieces like this, the lighting of the presentation is really important. Galleries have the track lighting, those sorts of things. But anytime you do these, I would pay a very close attention to the lighting, because they're delicate and they need that. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Jessup Path Arcadia in the Warm Light, Anastasia Leach.
This one, it's probably the most successful use of this zoom technique I've seen. The vertical lines, and then the zoom, which is almost a horizontal coming out, the colors, all that, it really works. And it works so well, it goes to show you why it'll never be wall art. You get vertigo, you feel like you're flying through space. But as a graphic, terrific. And as I say, this particular piece really brings it out. One comment on my screen, everybody's screen is a little bit different, but I think it's about 10 to 12% too bright. I would just bring the midtones down 10, 12%, something like that. It would just saturate a little bit more, and I think it would make these outside vectors a little bit more dominant. Just something to try. That's what struck my mind. But a lot of fun. You don't have to go to the amusement park. You can just put this on your screen and you're there.
Okay, next up is Color Me Blue by Barb Lawton.
Gorgeous, really neat. One of the things that this technology offers us is very much like the original Hudson Valley artist, this luminous quality to the work. And this really has it, the depth, the third dimensional. Very hard not to put this in the top 5, and goes to show you how this judging thing is all over the place. But this is really successful. I'd like to ask the artist here, have you printed it? How did you print it, and how are you presenting it? Is the artist here?
Barb's here, I don't know. Barb, hit space bar if you want to talk. Yep. Yeah, move on.
All right. Yeah, but a couple of things I wanted.
Okay, I had to unmute myself. The space bar didn't work.
Okay.
No, I haven't printed it. It's just sitting as a digital file in my computer.
I've started doing this with my work, just experimenting with it. But you might try printing it on acrylic and backlighting. There's ways of backlighting now, whether you can put it in a window, whatever. That these are fairly archival, but the LED lights behind these and using them as a reflection. This, just imagine. One of the beauties of the computer, of course, every image we see now on the monitor is backlit, so it's luscious and bright. Trying to get that quality on paper is not always possible, because that's reflected light that we're seeing. It's not translucent. But if this was printed on glass or acrylic, the reason I mention acrylic, it's a little more cost effective and it give you an idea of what it looks like. But I think this work is worthy of that and might be something you want to consider.
Thank you, I will.
All righty.
Next up is White Berries by Barb Lawton.
That's gorgeous. I really like this piece a lot. It's simplicity of it. It has a very Asian feel to it. It's a traditional art form of that and age. You use the textures incredibly well here, whether it was gained by a filter or projection or illustration, whatever technique you use, the marriage of the theme of the piece and the technology and the artwork itself really falls together beautifully. Again, this would just make a gorgeous print itself, not a translucent piece, but as a regular print with a light coming down a bamboo frame or something. Wow, really, really gorgeous piece. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Graffiti, Claudia Jakubowski.
All right, now this piece has a lot going. In first place, it reminds me of Bohemia, the circles and stuff and the kind of angular lines, the cubist nature of it, a little bit of Klee in there, you know, a little bit of Monet. But the thing I would like to know, there's two areas in this piece, and I'm looking at the upper left quadrant and on the upper third on the left-hand side, the quadrant and the upper third of the piece where it goes really dark. And I think those two areas have a lot going on in them that at least on my screen here, I'm not seeing. I'm seeing a little bit of it. I'm seeing hints of it, but I would recommend opening that up a little bit and letting us in there and seeing some of those textures and tones. And I think that'll lift the red to two red stripes on the top. I think it'll lift them off the page, make it much more third dimensional. And I think these blue designs on the left-hand side, the upper quadrant, I think those will come out a little bit more. And the third part I would do, and this is all picayune stuff, but as a printer, this is what I would look at. This yellow area in the middle, I would just try to bring out a little bit more of the detail in there. And by doing that, it would darken it just a bit. Because right now there's about 2.5 stops difference between that and some of the other areas in there. And I get your intent of wanting to have that brightness, but I might bring it down just a little bit and even it out just a bit. And I think it would be easier for the eye to adapt to it and absorb into these areas that are now a little bit darkened. Same thing with the circle down here, just a little bit, just let us in that just a little bit more would be the only thing. But I mean, I just love the elements of it. And, you know, I wouldn't spend this much time talking about it if I wasn't attracted to it.
Okay, next up is Kaleidoscope, Claudia Jakubowski.
All right, and now there's 3 pieces that are kaleidoscope-like pieces in here, and I took screenshots of all 3 of them, and I manipulated them in the digital darkroom because this is very much like with the work I'm doing now, and there are things that you can do in Photoshop, very simple things that just, it's like turning on a switch and the whole thing falls together. Here again, there are areas that are darkened and there's detail in those areas. I want to see that. I love the shapes and designs, but I want to see in there a little bit more. And the same thing with the area in the center. It's just a little bit too bright. I just want to see a little bit more in there. So it's like seasoning the photograph, you know, a little bit more salt, a little bit less vinegar, a little bit, you know, more olive oil. Same sort of thing here. It's just a matter of blending those things and traditional tools in conjunction with some of the newer components of Photoshop that would just boom, explode that piece. And there's two more in here. And by the way, if the artist would like to contact me, you can easily do that through my website or through my email. And I will send you the files and you can look at them and I'll tell you how I did it.
Next up is Lady Liberty, Cynthia Placek.
There you go. That's, and here's one of the things. Now, is the artist on board here? The person who did this?
I don't know if she is or not, at least not by her name.
Okay. Well, and there's another example of, she may have done another piece later too, but in the Statue of Liberty, she may have wanted it to look graphic, like it was cut out. But there are ways to soften the edges when you drop something in like this, just enough so that it blends in much more and it doesn't look or appear to be just dropped in like a piece of a puzzle. Now that may have been what the artist wanted to do here. I don't know. But in my eye, it's just very obvious. So that was why I was wondering if they were here. I'd like to know if that was the point.
Okay, next up is Autumn Colors, Donna Funk.
All right. Now, this is winter colors to me. The blues and the purples denote winter to me. And that's what I thought this was a winterscape. The reflections on the water would denote it's not frozen, of course. But a couple of questions. What in doing this, how many is the artist here? Is this person here?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, good. Hello.
Hi.
How many of the strokes here did you do yourself? Did you manipulate them yourself? Did you bring out things yourself? Tell me about that.
Well, I'm very new at all this, so I'm not really sure what you're asking me. I called this Autumn Colors because it was originally an autumn scene.
Right.
And I just played around with it in Photoshop and did this. And then I did work with the colors a little bit, individual colors.
Good. Okay, good. Good. The reason I ask you that is because you're doing really painterly work here. There are you can buy brushes, you know, in bundles, different feathers, textures, all of that, and add them into your Photoshop. So when you're painting, you can use these different brushes very much like a painter does in their studio. And it makes the finished piece even more exciting. I'm sure somebody on board here has bought a bundle like that. Dan, have you bought any brushes for your Photoshop or Lightroom? No, I have. I bought a few of them. And I mean, it's ridiculous, the numbers of brushes, but I find 5 or 6 that I use fairly consistently. And then, of course, Photoshop itself has brushes in there that are already installed, and they're pretty good. And then you can make them harder and softer and blend them. And then I do things like like a painter does. I'll take a brush and I'll brush one way, then I'll use another brush and then go the other way. And it creates those textures that you see painters do when they work at a canvas. They use different brushes for different things and in different ways with different weights and angles that they go at it. And just by watching them do it, I'm trying to do the same thing with my artwork, Only instead of using oil paints or acrylics, I'm using light itself in its representation. But I appreciate what you're doing here. I encourage you to keep doing it. And you might want to look into those brushes, see what you think.
Okay, next up is The Boathouse by Donna Funk.
All right. So this I really liked because I love flaws. I love things that I'll go, oh wow, I made a mistake and it's beautiful, and I'll use that as an effect later. And here the pixelization really works neat. I love how it works in the trees in the upper left-hand part of the image, and the same thing with the tree next to the little greenhouse. Now, was this an app that you used to gain this, or did you blend
No.
things in yourself, or how did you?
No, this was a filter in Photoshop.
Okay, which filter was it?
It's a pixelate.
Okay, and then you just took it and moved it to the level that you wanted.
Yes.
Okay, and how about the colorization? That was then you went back into hue and saturation, or?
Yes. Yep.
Good. Well, keep going. I mean, that's how you find out about these things. Is just by playing around and toying with them. But
Mhm.
this works very well. Nice work.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Melrose Abbey, Dow Smith.
Yeah. Well, here's that texturization again. Really, really nicely done. I love, and the age of it. The one of the things that I thought might, as far as printing this, have you printed this at all? Is the artist here?
No, I have not.
Oh, okay. Have you considered printing it, or are you playing around with it at this point?
I was just I was playing around trying to see what I could do. I was actually trying to do something where I could get more of the arches and flying buttresses in,
Yes.
but it got too complicated.
So, I like it the way that it is now. The something that I might consider doing, I might take down the top part here and just maybe resaturate it or something. But I think the main thing would be to say, keep doing it. Try more of this. I don't think that you were not successful here. I think that you were successful. But so often when we go on these adventures, in the abstract and impressionistic world, we're treading on ground that we don't know. And that's the thrill of it. That's the fun of it. With my journalistic photography, I pretty much know where I'm going to end up when I go out and prepare for a session that day. But when I start working on my artwork, it's not like that at all. There are things that start happening, and then I have to kind of follow along. It's a little bit more like being a surfer, you don't fight the wave, you go with it. And it's the same thing with these pieces. And they'll quite often will tell you what the final result will be. And if you're a wise artist, you'll pay attention. So congratulations on this piece, and I hope you continue to do more.
Okay, next up is Street Rod by Dow Smith.
All right. So here again, like keep doing this, keep doing it. And I suppose that is the grill of this car, right?
Yeah, that is the grill.
Yeah.
These are cars. This is a car that was in the Saratoga motor car auction for the museum. And I've shot about 500 cars for them.
Oh, wow.
I'm trying to find a way to get the cars out of the parking lot next to the museum and into something interesting.
I got you.
Because it's really product photography, and for a catalog, you're doing a certain type of photography in a system, but I'm trying to get past that for these cars.
Well, I think that, you've laid it in very well. And this is a skill, the more often you do it, the better you'll get at it. A couple of things that I would mention, when you drop in something like this, you might want to soften the grill in the background, just to give it a little bit more depth of field. And the other thing is, you see the sheen, you might want to keep it in there. I don't know, but the sheen that's on the trunk of the car and even on the rims, I mean, that's, of course, it makes it gleam, it makes it look great. But sometimes what I'll do is I'll just take a bit of that color and I'll drop it into that sheen, and then I'll use maybe 10% or 8%, just so that it's not so glaringly white, and it drives your eye there. No, and the other thing is, I might, on this particular image, just for I might drop off the top. I might crop down the top, make it a little bit more like a panoramic, like the car. But I like how you've got the whole name of the car in there too. So all of those are things to consider. But I'm just looking at that trunk. Yeah, that's pretty much my comments for that piece.
Yeah, that was a reflection. It was parked next to a building that was kind of one of those warehouse orange colors, and it reflected onto the car, and I didn't know how to deal with that.
Yeah.
I like your idea of taking the blue and putting it in there, because that's what it was.
Yeah, brush tool. Yeah,
Yeah.
and just put it on dark. And the other thing you can do is you can take your clone tool and clone on one side, use darken, and then just go over the top of it, and then go back to fade clone, and then bring it down, and it'll achieve the same thing. Yeah, I do that. I do that quite often. It's a good way to get the color in there, and by fading it back and forth, you can give it a real natural look to it, still with the gleam, but it just doesn't go absolutely white, and makes it a little bit easier for the eye to view. All right.
Thank you.
Next up is, does this look like Holland? Elena Kesey.
That's great. Well, this is a lot. This piece is a lot of fun, but I don't think it's done yet. I think that I want to see something up in the sky here. As long as you're going to all this trouble of creating this beautiful environment, just, gorgeous fantasy. I'd like to see something up in that blue sky up in there. I don't know exactly what it would be, but I would like to see that happen. Now, is the artist here? Is the artist on board?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, I love this. Now,
Thank you.
Did you drop in the windmill?
No, the windmill was where?
It was. And the village as well. You didn't add any of that. It's pretty much a straight. What did you add? The sky?
No, it's pretty much as it was, but shown more as a painting rather than photo.
I see what you've got. Now I see. It's hard for me to see that on my screen, but I see what you're doing. Yeah. Well, as long as you're doing that, I would consider, because that blue sky is beautiful, but it's, it kind of tilts the photograph this way. I don't know what you could do, but as long as you're creating a painting, you can do anything with that.
Birds. These birds.
Bird. Exactly. That would do it.
It's an inside joke on the club.
It's interesting because I've signed on with a photo agency online, and they have millions of stock images and computer generated scenes and things like that. And I pay a monthly fee for it, and then those artists get paid every time I use one of their images. But I will, if I needed a battle axe, or I needed a quartz crystal or something like that, I can go to my stock agency and I can find it there. And so it's a legitimate way to support the industry and at the same time gain access to things, because I do a ton of collage work, and very much like Yanko Varda or Man Ray, you know, taking found objects and including them in with it. David Bowie wrote some of his songs that way. But that's where I would look at this and I would say, you know, because this is to me, you know, I'm from Northern California, and there are coastal towns that are kind of like this. I think of Montesino, Mendocino, and Humboldt County. They have that kind of a coastline. But with the red there and everything, it's quite a stunning image. I hope I didn't confuse you more by what I was saying there, but I do enjoy it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next up. Fern Fantasy, Alina Kesey.
All right. This is really a nice textural piece here. Tell me, the colorization that you got on the certain things, were you doing this in layers?
No, I used the filter.
So you'd use the original photograph, then you drop this into the filter, and the filter selected these colors, or did you tune the colors once that?
Colors were there, but I use the filter and Photoshop to intensify them.
Okay, good. That's what I like to hear. You're doing it in stages like that. You'll take this effect and then you'll take it and make it your own. And that's what really creates it and turns it into a piece of art. People talk about filters in a very negative way, but let me tell you, I use filters on my lenses when I was shooting film. I use filters in the darkroom when I was printing. They've always been part of photography. Now, of course, filters now have come and they're slightly more exotic and they will do more things for us, but it's still our choice. And if we take the filter, in this case, and then you took it to the next step and then you manipulate it, now you're in control as the artist. You're not just throwing something in there, hitting a button. You're in control of it as the artist. And that's the key. Using these things, it's terrific. But you need to use them, not just drop it in there. So I'm pleased to hear that you took it the next step, and I look forward to seeing more work.
Next up is Dear Trio, Ellen Christensen.
All right. Now this has, you know, you got your concept. You are all of these photographs that I'm looking at here. These are your photographs, right?
Yes, they are.
They are. And so you caught those deer in an area that, because the way the light is hitting them and the tree. So I'm just trying to figure out, did you drop this into a filter to give it the 3D effect, or is this 2 separate or 3 separate images?
It's technically 2 separate images. The deer are from the fall time, taken another section of our yard. The tree and the background and the foreground, they're all the same image, but I broke them down into layers to give it a 3D effect.
There you go. All right. Well, that's great. It really worked. It really worked nicely. The one thing I would suggest is once it's all there, the edges on the deer here are like, they're very severe edges. I would soften those edges. Now their faces are nice and soft, at least in the ones that I'm looking at here. The detail's good. You can, and you can't, I mean, you can see all the different tonalities in their coat. Excellent. but I would just try to find some way to soften the edges. And sometimes what I use, just a little bit of the smudge tool, or I'll take the brush tool and I'll take a little bit of the surrounding color and just touch it and then take it down to maybe 2% or 3%, just enough that when the eye sees it, it doesn't look cut out. It looks like it's in the background. I don't know if I made that clear, but you might try that and see if that works. Can you see what I mean by the edges? Even the edges on the tree here, that it really does look cut out. But if you take just a little bit of the brush tool, a little bit of the background, touch the edge, 2%, 3%. Same thing with the deer. I would use a brush tool over the smudge tool, but I use them both. You'll see that all of a sudden the 3D thing, you look like you're right there. It doesn't look cut out at all.
Okay. Next up is late from lunch again. Got fired. Ellen Christensen.
So this is great. Great sense of humor, and what a moment. Good heavens. This is not a thing that you get on a second take. It's a first take. But I'm interested in the way that it sets in to the gold background. How does that happen? Is Ellen here?
She just did a second ago. She lost audio.
Oh, there she is. I see her. Hi, Ellen. Oh, she can't.
I can't hear.
Oh, there you go. I can hear you. Can hear you.
I don't think she can hear us.
I think she might have fallen off. Can you hear us at all, Ellen? Hello?
Yeah, I think she dropped it to restart her. Nope, she's still there. I think
Yeah,
she's
I
having
see.
problems hearing us for some reason on her end.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd like to, we can come back to this.
yeah. Let's move on to our next one.
Okay.
Fall Reflection, Janice Pritchett.
All right, Janice, your original photograph here, was this primarily a watercolor app? So you took your image of a reflection and dropped it into the app. Is that the way this image was made?
It was primarily a reflection with some slight alteration with one of the filters in Photoshop. I can't remember which it is, but it was just subtle.
Well, the thing is, it really goes to show you that if you're out on a day and capturing images, you can keep this sort of thing in your mind. When you see something, you can say, if I put this and I put it in connection with this process or this app, this sort of thing, all of these things that you begin to use, they accumulate as tools, and then you can use them at the appropriate time, which this clearly is. Have you printed this image?
Actually, my dad printed it on acrylic and it looks lovely.
He printed on acrylic.
Yeah.
So, and is he backlighting it?
No.
No, okay. It's a, excuse me, pardon me. That's a great way to go if you can. If you print it on translucent acrylic and then find a way, like I say, the LED lights are primarily the best because they don't give off heat, and as a result, it doesn't have any sort of a corrosive effect on the archival nature of the inks, the dyes. But wow, it just looks incredible that way. If you can try that, see what you think.
Thank you.
Well,
Okay. Next up here is One Lip Tulip.
nice,
Haywood.
really nice. You know, this kind of classical work is really difficult to do and not have it come off, very schmaltzy, or overdone, overly romantic. And this hits the notes properly. It looks to me like there was maybe 2 filters perhaps used on this, one to give it an antique effect and perhaps another one to give it a texture. Am I correct?
John's still here, I think. She's might have stepped away.
I know, I'm here, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I was just asking about the textures in this. It appears like there's an antique layer and then perhaps a texture layer. Is that correct?
Yes, I did use a texture.
It really works nicely.
Thank
on
you.
this. Yeah. And the thing is that the glass that the flowers in, the delicate curve below the lip of the glass, you've been able to maintain the integrity of that. And that's what can get lost quite often when you start adding effects or different levels, that the original level, if there's a very delicate or pale detail, it can get lost. And here you've maintained it. If that was to be lost, that curved area there, the whole piece would fall apart at that point. But you've kept it, and that's where it works. The same thing with the base. You can see the base, and you get a sense that it's actually sitting on something. So the effects you've used have enhanced this piece. It hasn't overpowered it. And I think that's the key.
Thank you.
You will.
Okay, next up is This Is Spot, Jana Haywood.
This is, I love what happened here in the background, what the way the jungle environment is being represented by those colors and hues. This was probably just, I'm guessing, captured in a preserve, in a natural preserve with a very healthy animal, by the way. The only reason I didn't select this image, I would like to see if you had captured other images in this sequence of this beast. I'm not thrilled with the gesture, but if you had another image in this sequence with this particular technique that you've used, it's really solid. Are there other images in this sequence?
I'm not sure. I took it, I believe it's probably about 4 years ago at the Phoenix Zoo. So probably about this time of year also.
Okay.
I don't remember. I'll have to look at it and see.
Yeah, I would just look, and it's just because of the posture. I mean, it's so spot on. You've got the focusing element, you've got the exposure, you can see into the animal's eye, you can see into his mouth, the whole thing, but it's just an uncomfortable pose for the animal. So I would look to see if you had another frame just before or just after this, perhaps when both paws were on that limb or he's looking forward or something, and the back was a little straighter, then it doesn't, I don't mind that the tail is cut off. I'm not worried about that. But it does seem to me to be an uncomfortable gesture, but obviously you're locked onto it. So if you had something a little bit before, a little bit after, applied the same technique, I think it'd really fall together.
I'll take a look. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, next is Coleus on steroids, Joan Heffler.
This is one of the pieces that I was talking about. To me, what it is a rocket ship that's on the launching pad, and it just hasn't taken off yet. And that's where I think the next step is to make this piece as luminescent. And I don't want to use the term vibrant because it gives the wrong impression, but because everything's here, everything's here, the details, the meditation of it. I love the colorization, but it can be like a switch that you turn on, and it will just it will go from being a photograph to being an experience. And if you want to talk to me about it, I'd be glad to talk to you about it afterwards. If you contact me, I'll tell you what I think you can do with that.
Okay, next up is, I'll have 2 eggs, please, Joan Heffler.
Yeah, I love, you know, I've got this whole thing where I mirror images all the time. And I think I might have talked about it when I was in front of your group, the idea of symmetry. You know, our species, we see things in symmetry. The more symmetry we see in people's faces, the more we recognize them. And the more likely they are to be successful for whatever reason. So when we play with images, when we mirror them, new things come out. We notice new things. And in some cases, it almost completes it. And I enjoyed this interpretation. And the way you pull the sky together too, that really has this piece fall together very nicely. Now, do you use Double Take as your software to do this?
No, I didn't. I copied half of it and flipped it in Photoshop.
In Photoshop. Then how you stitched it together in Photoshop as well?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I've got software called Double Take, and I use that quite often for the same purpose. It's very, very simple, very easy. But yeah, flip the image and then put it in, and build on from that. And by the way, this image is very pleasing to the eye. I think it works very nicely. The one before it, I'd like to see it turned on now.
Okay, next up is Twin Wizards of Oil and Water Abstract, Joe Catronio.
This is on. This one does it. Yeah, yeah. I love the water drops. Sometimes the symmetry gets to be too much. And I see this in my work quite often, where I'll lay things together, but it doesn't allow the full impact of the piece to be felt. So I'll go in and I'll remove certain elements on different sides so that it's not exactly reflective. And you might want to try that with this piece. Just remove a couple of the bubbles here or there and allow it to be just slightly more random, and see if it doesn't fall into your eye maybe a little bit more. But it's just something to try. That's one of the beauties too of digital photography, is we can do this without penalty. You know, you can try things and experiment without penalty, where when you used to do that with, you know, hard, you know, chemicals and paper and all that, it really was prohibitive. So I would try that on some of these pieces, remove or add things subtly that just take it out of the realm of just a straight mirror image, and see what you think.
Okay, next up is Truck by Kim Koza.
Yeah, I like this. Yeah, that's, you know, and I'm looking at the texture. I wish I could see this bigger. What size do you print this, Kim?
I'm not sure she's here.
She's not here? Okay. Yeah, I would like to know, because with a lot of my work, I'm preparing it to be really large because I want people to get absorbed into the details. And I just wondered on this piece if that's where she was going with it. And also her choice of palette on this. I would be interested to know about that.
Okay, next up is Flower Girl, Linda Tomasulo.
God, I like this. I really like this. I really liked it. I thought this should have been in the top 5. Can't squeeze it in though, but the only thing that held back, I was looking for that to be an engagement ring. Are you here, Linda?
I'm here.
Okay, tell me a little bit about the story of this person and this piece.
Well, the gal was a shoot that we did in SPS where Doug Mitchell, one of our members, had brought in models. And I remembered that I had her. So then I decided to make the flower girl. I think the first thing I did was that the ones that go like around her face, that's a flower that I shot on a light box, and I duplicated it and shot it all around. And then I just kept adding layers and different layers, different blending modes, and just playing with it.
I love it. The only thing I would do, Linda, we might want to consider this because it's so romantic, the image, is move that ring onto her other finger. And if you did that, it would all of us, you know what I'm saying, thematically? And you might not want to go there, but that's the first thing I thought of, was that this was like an engagement photograph. And I'm thinking, if somebody saw this and said, oh my gosh, you know, this would be great, you know, for our engagement thing. I just photographed a couple this week, and I was looking at this thinking, boy, that the woman would have loved that, you know, to be surrounded with those flowers with her eyes and the ring there. That's something you might want to consider to keep in your portfolio in case this opportunity comes up again. And you have a client, and you know, you're photographing them for a romantic purpose. Wow, this would just be ideal for that. This technique and the colorization, you know, I strongly approve, and I think it's highly marketable to your client base.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next up is Tulip Graffiti, Linda Tomasula.
Aha, I thought this was Bansky. Banksy. I like it very much. And you know, I love the watercolor paper effect, although that could be textured plaster at the same time. But the colors coming down, the kid with the dog in the backpack, Linda, are those all separate images that you collected yourself, or are those stock images?
No, the tulip I took many years ago. The boys is actually, there's one on the ladder, and then there's the other one at the top. They're two separate wall art in Troy. So I photographed them, cut them out, stuck them on, and then I used the brush, you know, one of a brush that makes like drips.
Yes.
And I added the drips.
Nice, very nice, very good use of the technology. And you know, here the cutouts are very skillfully done. The foot, the way the feet hit the wall, it really, I mean, it does look very natural. It's very well done. But the first thing I thought of was Banksy. You know, you might be onto something. He sells, you know.
It was fun doing it.
Good. Yeah, it's fun seeing it as well. Good
Thank
piece.
you.
Good piece.
Okay, next up is Flower Angel, Marguerite Hill.
Yes. Now, is Marguerite here? Yes.
Don't know.
Hi. All right, Marguerite. What I would do? Is she? Can you hear me? I just can't hear you.
Marguerite, you want to hold down the space bar or unmute? She's a little shy.
No, she was talking.
All right,
There she is.
okay.
There you go. Now you're on. Oh. So Marguerite, when I'm looking at this, I'm wondering a couple of things. when this came together and you selected the depths, the face, the flowers, the all of that, was this something that kind of fell together and you went, ah, there it is? Or was it something you manipulated over a period of time to be able to get this effect?
No, it was just two images I put together in the camera.
Aha, so it's in camera.
In the camera, yeah.
Okay, now did you do anything in Lightroom or the digital darkroom?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
I changed it a little bit.
All right, there's a, just to my eye, right now, it reads in a pale manner. There's but there's something there. There's something going on. What I'd like to do, I'm going to do a screenshot of this one, okay? And I will manipulate it in the digital darkroom for what I can see. And just to give you an idea, not that it's right or wrong, but just to give you an idea of where I think you could take this, because I think you'll be surprised when you see it. I'll put it
Okay.
that way. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, next person.
Okay, next up is Distant Horizon, Marty Bannon.
Ah, I like this one. Yeah, this is nice. This is nice. The sparse nature of it, really quite strong. And this is a type of work that is really the geometric work, the Escher kind of quality to it is extremely attractive now in galleries and in museums. And I think this is well seen and well done. Is Marty here?
Oh, I don't, unless he's under a different name, I don't see him.
Okay, all right. All right, next one.
Next up is Singularity, Phil Oliva.
Yeah. Now, Phil, I took this and I did a screenshot of it. And I like it. I like the rivets and the metallic sense of it. The one thing that I would do with this image was I added a slight amount of red.
Oh,
I took it down on the hue thing. I took the yellows down, I think about -4. And the reason I did that was there's a slight green tint to the yellow. Can you see it?
Yes.
If I see it on my screen. I wanted to take that out. I wanted it to be more rich gold. So that was what I did. That, other than that, it's great. And I love the way you're building it and you know, playing with this technique and adding the flare and all of that. That's really sweet. But that's what I did as far as I always watch my yellows. I really want my yellows to look gold. I want them to feel rich. And when the green creeps into it, it takes that edge off. So that's what I did. Try it, see what you think.
Okay, thank you, Lawrence. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, next up is Woman in the Red Window, Phil Oliva.
Yeah, I like this one too, Phil. But you know what I would do with that woman is that I would tone her down. Sometimes what I do is I'll go over it with a brush, a neutral tone, and then fade it back. She's just too there, you know, she should be more subtle, like almost in the shadows a little bit, you know. I would try that. See if you can't have her standing about 2 feet back in from the window instead of standing right up next to it. You know what I mean?
Yep, I understand.
Yeah, take that light down a little, and if it's more subtle, it'll be more, it'll be sexier, really, than to have that bright light on here. Right now, it's a little too obvious, but it should be one of those things like if you were passing by in the street, it would be like, what? You know, instead of wham hitting you, it would be wow. And so I think that might help that image. Try that. Bring her down just a little bit, move her back in, and take down those tones. See what you think.
Okay, thanks a lot, Lawrence.
You're welcome.
Okay, next is the lamppost, Robert Neer.
Yeah, this is sweet. You really did it nicely. And adding that text there, that is Robert here?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Robert.
Hello.
Really tastefully done. I like all of the effects on it. I like the way the borders, the infrared feeling to it, the framing, all of that, the way the text is in there. This is real. This again, it's really hard to choose 5 images because this is done right. It's within the frame of this piece. Everything is right. The softness, how the background falls off, really nice, very, very evocative. What is the text?
It was, there's 3 texture files that I used, and the one file had like just some script writing in it.
I see. Yeah, yeah, that's nice. That's nice. That one of the things though I would do when you put something in subliminal like that, put something in with meaning.
Yep.
Even if it can't be seen or read, but something with meaning. And it will give the piece more meaning in the long run. Like I say, even if it's in a foreign language, I use French a lot and Italian, and it just and I add poetry or philosophy, and just like, again, not to hit people over the head, it's subliminal, but we're trying to touch people's imaginations. It's just another way to do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next up is Winter Solitude by Robert Neer.
Yeah, great. Same thing here. I love the borders. I've always loved that. The only thing here, I'm not sure that the red tones, the gold or the yellow behind the tree doesn't take away from the red on the bench. I know what you're going for, the antique feeling and everything, but you might try an interpretation where you take that yellow out there, enhance the red on the bench a little bit, just a touch, and maybe take the blues down 2 points, but see if all of a sudden it doesn't take on a different layer of, because right now it's, when you look at it, you see the overall image, but for the poetry of it and to hit the heart, I think if you brought out the reds on that bench and took down those yellows in the sky, I think the image would have a little bit more poetry to it. It might be something worth trying. See what you think.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next up is Leaf Along the Mohawk Trail, Rosemary Contompatus. I hope I said that right.
Yeah, that's nice too. And so let me ask, it looks to me like the background is a paint on a wall or on a sidewalk type of a thing. Am I correct?
I don't know if she's here.
Okay. Yeah, because I'd have questions about this. I wouldn't know what to say otherwise. So let's go to the next one.
Next up is Ziena's Alamone, Rosemary Contompatus.
All right. Now, is she here?
No, that's the same artist.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Well, just for everybody else. So some of the things that I'm doing recently is I'm painting with the clone tool. I'm taking an image and screwing it up and then going back in and painting over it again with more exacting tones and lines. And that's what I would do with this. I would try that. I would take a second file, sharpen it, and go back in and try cloning certain areas of the image and seeing what happens. But the clone tool is the most fabulous thing. I mean, it totally has changed the dynamics of being a photographer, truly. I was just I've been, for the last 2.5 weeks, I've been going through my archives, and I found a group of images of a dancer at the Statue of Liberty. And the sleeve said Statue of Liberty, blown photographs. So they were blown. And I went back in and I looked, and what happened was when I loaded the film, a piece or a hair got into the film plane and went across every single frame, right in the middle of this hair. So what am I going to do? You know, I'm printing. I can't go in and take out the hair, but now I can. Now I can go in and I can take that hair out, and I've been able to restore that photograph, and they're amazing. It's just incredible. There's one of her leaping in the air with the World Trade Center buildings behind her. Just amazing photographs. So yeah, these tools that we have are terrific. And that's where I might try something here, because I think the softness works. But if there was a little bit more edge, brought out a little bit more edge, I just think it'd be a more successful piece.
Okay, next up is Holy Abstract, Sally Wilson.
Okay, this is it. Now, is Sally here?
Not under.
I'm here. I'm
Oh,
here.
There she
Good.
is.
Sally, hi.
Hi.
I took this piece and I worked on it a little bit, because what you have here, when I say, I always say, don't look at a photograph, look into it. And here, if you look into these glass, I guess this is glass, I'm assuming it's glass. If you look into this glass piece in the middle, there's so much going on in there, and it's not evident right now. Same things with the blues on the side. So what I've done, I took this piece, I think you might have one other one in here. I took them and I did a screenshot, and then I manipulated them to bring it out and turn it off, you know, and I'm glad to share those with you. So, you know, contact me via email and I'll attach them to the email. I'll send them back to you. But I think you'll see what I'm talking about, and it's easy to do. It's using about 3 or 4 tools in Photoshop, and it's just liberating, because all of a sudden.
So you didn't blend them anymore.
I'm sorry, say again.
All you did was, you didn't blend them anymore. You just used tools in Photoshop.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Okay.
I use Photoshop
Okay.
a lot. I use Lightroom sometimes, but mostly for when I'm doing ganging up images, sending off a bunch. The element of translucence, when you have a translucent material like glass, you want that light coming through it, and it's there. It's there. If you know how to see it, it's there. The moment I saw this image, I went, wow, it's right in the middle. And it's just so dynamic, and how much it would add to this piece. So you have one more piece in, right? Am I correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, I do.
So yeah, I did the same thing with that, and I'll be happy to share them with you. But
Okay.
it doesn't take much to get it, but you need to be able to see it. And that's why I say, look into your photographs. So when you see what I send you, you'll understand what I mean. But it's there. It's all in there. It very much, I use this analogy all the time, like a chef. When a chef goes out and buys the food during the day, in his mind, he's already thinking of the way that will blend together. You know, it's not that way when he picks it up, but it's that way when he delivers it to the table. And it's the same thing here. Those flavors are in there. It's just a matter of bringing them out.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just thank you. I've spent a lot of time taking pictures of glass, so I'm intrigued to see what you're talking about.
Yeah. I have too. Stained glass, and that's what. And yes, you'll see exactly what I mean as soon as you see the image. And I'm glad to share with you how to do it. Okay.
I don't know where your email went. Somebody put it up there. I don't know how to get it. Do I look at? I have to figure out where to do it. But anyway, keep on going.
Well, yeah. Well, can you share it with the group when we're done here?
Yeah, he's got it. I'm trying to figure out where the hell chat is.
Okay. And well,
I'm doing this on my iPad.
Lawrence White Artwork is my website as well.
Oh, okay. I can find it that way. Okay.
Lawrence White artwork. Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome.
And our next image.
Oops.
Summer Morning Light by Sally.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this one, again, it's, how do I describe it? When I grew up, I was Life magazine. Everything was Life magazine, Time magazine. And those photographers, the Magnum photographers, they were heavy on the tones. You didn't miss the midtones. And you hear me screaming about the midtones all the time. But this image needs to come down. And even though you're looking in the shadows and everything, there are ways to bring out those details. But what makes this image work for me are all these white swirls up in the tree. That's the magical part of this. So I would work in the darkroom to bring those tones out in harmony with the others. Because right now, what I'm seeing on my screen, I barely see them. I'm looking down here in the shadows, which is nice. But if you don't see those lights up in the trees when you first see this image, I don't think people would get it. So that's where
I've seen the lights, so it might be the way I brought those out in mine image. I don't know what you're seeing. It's bright on my screen.
If you send me the email, I'll show you what I mean. All right. I'll process it for you and I'll show you what I mean. But it's yeah. And it's little things. It's like 2 to 5%. It really isn't a lot, but it's incredible. And it was that way when I was in the darkroom. When I worked on an enlarger, and I was working the f-stops on the lens to set the exposure for the print, I didn't look at the numbers on the lens. I looked at the light coming out and falling down, and just a half a crank, a little move this way made all the difference in the world from the print coming alive and not coming alive. And so, it's those little subtleties that, and the tools we have now really allow you to be that exacting. So it's just, like I say, recognizing it. And you're right. I mean, on every screen, these things appear differently. Every screen is set differently. People think, oh, the digital file, once you lock it down, it's done. Well, no, if you're going to post it on Facebook, it looks one way. You're going to put it in Dropbox, another. You have to be able to negotiate these variances with these subtle changes, not big changes, but subtle changes. So I'll show you. Like I say, send me the email. I'll bounce it back to you, and you'll see what I mean.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Next is Gas Available on Pump 1, Sean Sullivan.
This is, Sean, what were you thinking? This is fantastic.
I just started playing, is what I ended up with.
I love it. I mean, it's like, a horror film, and combining the lightning and the tones and everything. I mean, that's the kind of talent that people look for in doing graphics for movie posters, television shows, magazine covers. And that's, putting this in your portfolio is not going to hurt you one bit. I mean, it's what you've done is you fulfilled this thing and you nailed it. So I would, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a keeper for your portfolio.
Fun part, it was in broad daylight, so it was very day.
Well, and in other words, the gas pump was in broad daylight, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cloudy sky behind it, but it wasn't stormy.
Well, that's the thing, is that what you've done is you've dropped it in here, but by putting the shading on the right hand side, with the lightning on the left, so a little bit of brightness there. I mean, even though the light isn't totally validated, right? It still, to the eye, is validated. It makes sense. And the darkened tree on the right-hand side, again, with the shading, I mean, it really works. The same thing with a lighting on the side of the pump. Everything really works. So putting the lightning on this side really was the key to having that whole thing fall together. Nicely done.
That was the toughest part of lightning.
Now, was that something that you found online? Was that something you got from stock agents?
I tried several different techniques for creating lightning within Photoshop, and I tried using images of lightning. Eventually, I found some software that creates it for you.
It does.
Yeah, it's so
very cool. Very cool. That, well, you know, it certainly pulled it together. The fact that it goes all the way to the ground too.
Yeah, you can manipulate it once you create it. You can change settings and create your own streaks and, you know, and intensities. And then I just added some lighting effects and stuff. That was it.
And this is an app or software?
Yes.
What's the name of it?
Good question. I've totally forgot. That's my mind.
Well, that's interesting though. That's not something for your phone. It's something you use on your
It's Photoshop. It's a Photoshop plugin.
Yeah. Wow. Very, very cool. Yeah. Well done. Nice colorization, the reds and the blues. Yeah. Good work.
All right. Let's get down to the nitty gritty here.
All right.
Our five winning images. First up, Holly's Vintage Airstream, Dan Steen.
Nice. Well, Dan, nice work, my friend. True Americana. That's why I like this. I've been very active lately with my alumni group from the Art Institute back in the 1970s. And they're all classic photographers, you know, Elliot Irwood, Dorothea Lange, you know, Margaret Burke White, you know, Robert Frank. And this is right along those lines. It's true Americana. And I like the filtration that you used here and the even tonality. And you've been able to maintain integrity in the whites, the bright areas, and good integrity in the dark areas. And again, it's, you know, it's totally recognizable, and at the same time kind of shows the alien nature of our existence. You know, it's such a great looking shape on the trailer. Was this something you didn't you travel last year or something? Was this something?
This I took at I belong to the Airstream Club in our local unit. Last fall, our last rally was at Letchworth State Park.
Right. That's right.
And this was taken there, and this is a Friends unit that's in 1966 that she is restoring at great expense. And it's funny, the night before I had shot a series of these, and then the last day of the rally, the treasurer was getting rid of some old hats and stuff. And in that batch was the Hudson Mohawk unit blue banner that's in the window. And so I went back and reshot it with that, and I think that really
absolutely
really helped it with it.
Absolutely.
I did print this one, Lawrence, but you'll be horrified to know that I printed it as an 8x10 on canvas.
Nice.
I used it first in a competition at the International Rally for Airstream. They do a print competition, and it requires an 8x10 with no matting or anything. So I had a piece of canvas paper from a sample pack that had been hanging around. So I printed it on that, and it came out pretty good, I thought.
Yeah.
And then the size worked out pretty well because when I gifted it to Holly, she keeps it in her Airstream, and this is a little tiny Airstream. It's like a 17 or 19 foot. So the scale of it works in the Airstream.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
And I'm ashamed to say, I don't remember really what I did with this. I think it was largely in Photoshop, but I didn't take any notes as to what the heck I did.
Well, there's a texture to it, you know?
Yeah.
So you must have used some of the filters that are in Photoshop. You didn't use any third-party.
I don't think I did. I think this was Photoshop.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, again, you know, that one of the things too to keep in mind, a lot of the tools that we're using today are not going to be around in 5 or 6 years. There's going to be new stuff. But the traditional methods of photography will still pertain. The facet of capturing light, manipulating light, reflecting light, that will all remain the same. But that's why, you know, some of the software that I first started using, I can't even update it anymore. You know, yeah. It's gone. And so, you know, several of the filters, apps, whatever they are, you know, you want to get them down because certainly maybe in 2 or 3 generations of updates, you won't be able to use them anymore. There'll be something else.
Well, thank you.
Nice work there, Dan. Nice work, my friend.
Okay, next is 4th place is You Are Slytherin, Sean Sullivan.
Yeah, I love it. This, Sean, I got to tell you, man, you really took it right there. I mean, that it's so hard to work with darks and to have that richness and still, you know, not have it look milky or like misty or hazy and all that. And this really, you really hit it. It's just great. That the hat that's in the foreground there. Say that again.
It's the sorting hat.
That's
the house you're in.
That's, where did you find that?
It's a Harry Potter hat. My girlfriend's son's getting married in June, and it's sort of got a Harry Potter theme going to it.
Okay.
And so we got some Harry Potter. We bought this hat off of Amazon. It actually talks. And so I was sitting there when I had it up on the counter, and I said, I started taking pictures of my phone with it. And I remembered I had this image from the Bannerman Castle. And I said, oh, I think they'll go together.
Well, and what about the building?
That's Bannerman Castle. It's one of the buildings on Bannerman Castle Island there, down in Poughkeepsie. And we did a thing about 2-3 years ago. We did a field trip there. So
all right. Now the lighting on the building itself, the spot of light on the left and in the middle on the upper part, is that something you use a dodge tool there to get that?
Yeah, it's a technique I learned from Scott Kelby's site. I use it a lot on architecture. We've technique of darkening the image, and then using the radius tool to create light streaks in it and bring back out lighting to give it a mood.
That is really successful. It gives it depth, you know. Yep. And that's that's a very, very successful technique that you've used here.
You probably didn't notice the eyes up in the window.
I did, on the right-hand side there. Yeah. And was that your brush tool? Did you put that?
Yeah, I don't remember. I used something I had with cat eyes or something. I stick them up there.
Nice. You know, when I was going to art school, back in the 70s, a tremendous number of really great photographers came through there at that time. And, you know, they're basic techniques to photography. So, you know, it's like there are 8 notes to music, and yet there's all of these songs. And it's the same thing with the tools we're using now in photography. Every person, every artist is going to get a different result in using combinations of things. And so, you know, your techniques, the way you've used them here, very unique way. And, you know, I think that, you know, as creative people, and that's kind of the deal with competitions and stuff too, is we can't compare ourselves to others. We just can't. And, you know, that's why I wanted to talk about each piece individually. How did you do and fulfilling your image, your vision in this image. And this one, Sean, you really nailed it. Congratulations, especially with the dark charcoaly tones and everything. Really nicely done.
Thank you. Next up then is Autumn Light, Janice Pritchett.
That's just great. That's really great. It moves, it radiates, it's translucent. It just has so much going for it. Really beautiful vision. The original photograph on this, ocean waves, I'm guessing.
Actually, no, it's the Schroon River up here in the Adirondacks.
Nice.
A very special spot on a special day.
And is that sunset colors I'm seeing there?
It's both. It's golden hour, and with the reflection of actually the colors of autumn from the trees.
Boy, I tell you, it's just alive. This is one of the things that photography can do. It can not only take a moment, it can take a few moments and freeze them in a way that then you can really enjoy the movement of it, even in a still image. And this has so much depth to it, and just a pleasure. I did notice one area, the right center upper part, there's like a dark area, and it's a
I see it now.
Inorganic shape there. You might want to just smooth that out. Look, that is the only area where I saw might be a hint of something inorganic, maybe even something.
Yeah, I see it. I see it now.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it was a lot of it is the feeling of fall that I enjoy about this image.
Yeah. Well, the blues and the red tones, you always get depth from that. And in this, the hues are so subtle and nice in the blues, and then the reds tend to be more yellow, orangish. It really is satisfying. Really, really a beautiful image. Again, enhanced by being backlit. A print quality would be something where if you were printing on a paper medium, you definitely want to have good lighting on it when people see it. But this would make a beautiful translucent print.
Thank you.
Well.
Okay, and second place is Root Tree Moon, Kim Koza.
Yeah, this is Kim really got it here. And there's your birds. This is cool. There's a interesting phenomenon now where I've seen it in a couple of museums where trees are growing in suspended pots. And some trees are even growing upside down in suspended pots. I don't like that, but this kind of reminds me of that. But the way that she was able to create this fantasy, I really like it. I was struck by this image, the balance of it. Again, there's no symmetry here, but there's a balance to everything, and it's just well seen and well done.
Okay, and our first place image is On to the Next Journey, Marty Bannon.
Awesome. Just really cool, man. Carol's up here, my partner, and we both saw this and went, wow, real nice. The thing that kind of you would think wouldn't work would be the superimposition of the clouds over everything. You would think that it would fall apart and it would just look, flat, but it doesn't. I mean, it really falls together here and it gives it a sense of a cloud room. And the broom, and was this the original scene here in the hallway? Was that something you came across, the broom there and all of that?
I don't believe Marty's online.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, that would be the question. I just would like to know the thought process in putting this together, and how he came across that scene. I'm thinking this is probably somewhere inside the Albany superstructure someplace. You know, those downstairs hallways that they have there. That's what it kind of looks like. But the austerity of it and the way that the clouds fall together on this particular piece, yeah, it works out very nicely. So congratulations to everybody. Like I say, I didn't see any losers in the entire group, not one.
Okay, yeah, you said you had something you wanted to share your screen and show us, so.
Well, what I could do that. Hold on a second here. Okay, let me zoom, let me get him to hide others. Let me just see, I hadn't planned on this, but let me just see if I can find it. Okay. I'm not sure I can bring it up. Give me just a minute. Move you over. Okay, there's one. Let me just bring them up and then I can show you what I'm talking about, everybody. Hold on. Yeah. All right. Okay, we got the shared screen thing happening. And share. Okay. Can everybody see?
Yep.
All right, well, here's that glass piece that I was talking about. Now it comes across a little bit brighter here than I saw it in my Photoshop, but can you see what I mean by that center piece? The green piece right in the middle here? See all that detailing, almost spider-like detail? That's not evident in the original piece. Now this may be a little bit too bright for you, but that's the latitude that you have in here. And this can easily be gained in Photoshop by just using the tools that you have in the shadow highlights, the burn and dodge tools at the various levels, the shadow, medium, and highlights. And that's the kind of luminescence you can get out of that. Let me go to this piece here. Now that's the original of this piece. And then this is what I did to it here. See, it's not a huge difference, but you see what I mean by the center, how now it has a little bit more detail going for it. And the green area in the circumference around it has much more detailing now than it had in the first. Now, again, this may be not to your taste, but it's there. It's in that, it's in these pieces. And here's the one that I did for Phil. This is the original piece here. You can see kind of the green tones and some of this up here. And then I did this just by adding, going up and selecting the yellow and then going about 4 points to the left towards the reds to bring it out, just to give it more of a gold feeling. And there's another one here. Hold on. Let's see if I can find it. Move you guys over.
You seem to have a desktop like my girlfriend.
Oh yeah.
Filled with stuff.
I'm crowded here. Yes. Let's just see. Is there one more? Not sure. No, that's one of my photographs. Okay, I think that those are the ones that I've been able to, that I actually did. Yeah. Now there's the original. There's the original of that one. Okay. And then here's the latitude. And a couple of things to look at here. You see in the middle, the green is really dense. Okay. And now it's open. Look at this orange right above it. And let me make that larger. Where are you? There you go. Look at the textures in there now. You see, all of that's in there. The glass makers put that in there, right? But it's really not evident in this piece here. You really, you can't, you see what I mean? It's not, it's just not happening. And yet it's in there. The light is there. You've got the light. All you have to do is just amplify it to be able to pull up.
And you did that how?
Yeah, here, I'll show you. let's
I mean,
see.
just,
Hold on just a second here. Where is it? Is it this one? Let me just see. It's this one, I think. Let's see.
well,
There it is. Okay, all right. There it is. That's the piece. Let me just make it a little bit bigger. All right. Now, just to give you an idea, just go to the fastest way to do this is go right here, image, adjustments, shadow highlights. Right there.
wow. Okay, image adjustments. Oh, I didn't know that was in there.
Yeah, image adjustments, shadow highlights. Now, this is still a little bit flat. You might want to go up here, see the amount, tone, radius. These are the shadow areas that I'm dealing with. Let's bring this over a little bit. Now, this still looks a little bit dense to me here in the greens. All right. So I'll show you a second tool. Go over here, this lollipop right here, the Dodge tool. Right? It's listed right here, Dodge tool. It's a classic darkroom tool. I'm just going to take this, I'm going to use it on the highlights only, just the highlights. And I'm going to make it large enough that it covers this area. Pardon me. I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger. Take it up. I'm going to take it up to 500 points. All right. Now watch this. I'm just going to touch that, put the dot right in the middle, and I'm just going to hit it once. See the difference? I'll hit it again. That's 2 times. See, these tools really have quite an effect. And they're all right over here. You can find them. You can go online, find out how to add the tools to your sidebar here, and then go through and start using them and playing with them. The same thing here, image, adjustments. Play with all of these. See what they do for you. That's where a lot of control comes in. That's a very, very quick little lesson, but what you're looking at here is don't look at the objects, look at the light. Look at the light. And if you look at the light, you'll look into it and you'll see in the original, I'm just gonna go here. And that's the original. You can see that detailing in that green. If you look, you can see it's there. There it is. So it's perception. You know, when you come home after a day's photography and you pull out your memory card, it's just exactly like a chef that came home with all the groceries. It ain't cooked yet. You got to get it into the kitchen, which is a digital darkroom. And once you get it in there, then you can bring out the flavors for your eye that make it delectable. Whereas without that, it can be just kind of a flat meal. All right.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So that was what I was going to show. Thanks very much for the opportunity of seeing this wonderful work and to talking to you about it.
Well, thank you very much, Larry. It was very enlightening.
Thank you, Lawrence. Great commentary.
Good. My pleasure.
Outstanding. Thank you, Lawrence.
My pleasure, everybody. Thanks. Thanks. And keep it going.
Thank you, Lawrence. Good
All
to
right.
see you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry I couldn't hear you.
Thank you.
It was a real learning experience.
Good. Good. I'm glad to hear that. Cheers, everybody.
See you next week, everybody.
Take care. All. Night.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.